Good morning, everyone. As we start, I just ask that you turn your attention to the screens and let's quickly just end with the conversations and simmer down. And let's make a deliberate effort to be present today. I do know that it is a conference, you've traveled from far, and sometimes things can drag a bit because your body is a bit fatigued, but just try and make a deliberate effort to be as present as possible so that you don't miss out on the learnings and key networking sessions available for you today. Thank you.
My name is Lydia Safwa. I'm from Safusco Ghana Limited. I'm the managing director for the company. Our products are 100% plant-based oils. Yeah, we use shea butter, we use stearin oil, we use coconut oil, and we use palm kernel oil. Our products are very good for sensitive skin because we made a research and a lot of people were complaining about how their hands cracked after washing. So it was what helped us to come out with this unique product. Our products are very gentle and effective on both the skin and cloth as well. I'll commend MasterCard Foundation and Absa Bank for the 10% loan for women-led businesses and agri-businesses, because this facility came in at the right time for Safusco, and it was the first time Safusco was going in for a financial facility for the bank. This facility has really helped improve our working conditions in this place, because before the facility, Safusco had only the mini bar soap on the market, and now we've introduced 3 other products because the facility helped us to get machinery for our detergent powder and other raw materials to help us come out with the 3 products. That's the detergent powder, the African black soap, and the bleach. The 10% loan from Absa and MasterCard Foundation has really helped increase our working force because we were able to employ 15 youth in addition to our working force, and this has really helped boost our productivity and revenue as well. Currently, we have 19 women workforce, and what's amazing is some are in the production field and others too are on the market. We give chances to women because we understand that women pay attention to details when given the right resources and the attention. When I'm not around, I feel confident that the women that I'm working with, they take charge as if the business belongs to them and they feel at home. We give opportunities to the youth, especially those who wants to learn the skill. We get calls from students from KNUST, Kumasi Polytechnic, that they want to come and do their internships over here, and we've opened our doors to them. Annually, we organize the Global Hand Washing Day in schools within our vicinity. That's where we operate. We hope to make sure that Safusco helps to combat diseases from the schools. We are trying to have volunteers within the school. So even after the project that we've left, those volunteers will help make sure that the project is being sustained in the school.
Women that inspire us. Their stories in 60 seconds. For decades, Zambia's precious emeralds were shipped away as rough stones. Their true value, gemologist and designer Rashmi Sharma decided to change that story. Based in Lusaka, she co-founded Jewel of Africa to polish Zambia's potential at home. Her company controls the entire process, from mining and cutting to designing and manufacturing exquisite jewelry locally. This model ensures the skill, jobs and value remain in Zambia. Through her foundation, she trains women to become world-class artisans, building an entire industry from the ground up. She's guided by a powerful belief. This is about Africa and its resources working for Africa. At Absa, we're inspired by these stories, and that's why we say, your story matters.
All right, good morning, Africa. It's good to see you in the house today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 2 of the Inspire Me Absa conference. I think you can give yourselves a round of applause for being present, trying to be as early as possible. And we commend you. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you're absolutely welcome. We had a very interactive and engaging day yesterday. And of course, to our online audience, whether you're following us on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Zoom, we absolutely recognize your presence, and we're so glad that you've been following the program. My name's Tahila, and I have had the privilege of guiding the program over the conference duration. And I've learned so much. I've learned about the different plights of different women. And I've had the chance to also interact, even if I've been on stage. And thank you so much to those who have been walking up to me, telling us about your businesses, because essentially that's what networking is all about. So this is more than a conference, correct? I believe it's a movement. It's a celebration and really a commitment to make sure that we elevate each other's stories, not just our own stories, and that we do it as we are united for purpose. They always say where people walk as in unison, you find that there's a blessing that's commanded there. So it's very important for us to thrive and to learn off of each other and to feed off of each other's energies and strengths. Especially where I'm weak, I see that. Remember we're talking about something, Namakoka, where you talked about essentially, if you find that you're not so strong in a certain area, why don't you outsource that service? Or why don't you reach out and collaborate to someone? Yesterday we had the likes of Lindiwe offer herself and offer her expertise and knowledge to those who are complaining and saying, you know what, we need this bridge gap and we really don't know where to start. And essentially that's what today is all about as well. As we begin, allow me to recognize the presence of the government officials who are present here today. The COMESA Assistant Secretary General, Admin and Finance, Dr. Dev Haman, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Bank of Zambia representatives, Absa Bank Zambia board members present, distinguished captains of industries, members of the press who may be present, ladies and gentlemen. Please give them a round of applause and give yourselves a round of applause. And of course, I would be failing my duty if I did not specially recognize the Queen Mothers who are close to our hearts and close to this delegation. Thank you for coming through once again and for being present. You know, their presence really brings a certain depth, tradition and a power to the space, which we really appreciate. Thank you so much for your partnership and your collaboration. I think we can do more than that to show them some love. There we go. Yeah, yesterday we witnessed so many firecrackers in the name of women, and one thing I really loved and I walked away from was when Maureen said, have the courage to walk with the audacity of a man. That is so important, and that's critically important. So today you'll notice that I'll be cruising through the program because it's important that we get all the sessions in so that we don't disrupt anything and we allow you to ask the pertinent questions and have answers returned back. So to officially help us open the program, I would like to call on Joyce, who is the Absa Kenya Manager, Women in Business. A round of applause, please.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Mulishani. Akwaba. Habari asubuhi. My name is Joyce. I stand here on behalf of our Business Banking Director, Madam Elizabeth Wasuna Ochoa. And I'll do the welcoming remarks on her behalf. And first is to thank you all for having us. We are so delighted to be in Lusaka. Your hospitality has been immense. We feel at home from your food to the stay, to the interactions. Indeed, it has been a grateful and pleasant space to be in. So I'll stand on the protocols observed by our MC, and I'll just go direct into the conversation. Indeed, she already spoke and highlighted on the areas that we looked at yesterday. And I think it was a great learning from the stories that started in the morning. And my greatest takeaway, I think, was own your story. And if you don't share your story, it will lack authenticity because others will tell your story not the way you know it and not the way you feel it. So own your story and tell it. And from telling your story, you're inspiring and elevating another woman. So tell and own your story. So ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to welcome you today, day 2 of Inspire Me Conference. I would like to welcome all the audience in the room and also in watching us online from all over the continent. For our guests who made it physically, we hope that you experience the warm welcome from the Absa team that has hosted us this morning. So ladies, yesterday was a powerful start, filled with honest conversations, courageous stories, and bold reflections, and on how we accelerate progress for women in business across Africa. One moment that stood out for me also was when the speaker were giving their stories from the Honorable Minister to the entrepreneur and also to our colleagues. When you see the great stories coming from our continent, of course it's told in Africa, a woman's business is not just a business, it's not just an enterprise, it reflects her leadership, and that spirit is what carries us today. One of the bottom lines of the Absa Inspire Me Conference, I believe, is to ensure delegates live better informed and inspired both physically, spiritually, and mentally. I hope that you end this conference, that you shall, but I hope that as we end this conference, that you shall be challenged, that you shall be inspired and empowered, and that you will elevate your story. From the stories we had yesterday, of course the learnings were great. And I would also want to highlight some of a brief. She said what we normalize, what we see we normalize. So the challenge or the call was, what spaces are we in? Where are we creating those spaces? What we see every day is what we normalize. Are we normalizing challenges, or are we normalizing breaking through those challenges? So those are the encouragements and the challenges that we see today. Giving back is also a divine and a drive to satisfaction. Being an entrepreneur and rising to the occasion, and you having an opportunity to give back, it gives you satisfaction to support the community. Of course, there were stories on resilience, and also when we spoke about the digital space, there was the challenge and the call to crawl through the challenges that we go through, not knowing how to navigate the digital space. But we were encouraged by our colleague Moses that you need to crawl, you need to walk, and you need to run so that you're able to scale your enterprise. And also be brave, passionate, and ready to take up those opportunities that come across. So as a brand, we are inspired by the stories. Our promise is empowering Africa together. Our story is empowering Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time. And for example, when we look at the stories that are in this room, when you sit in that table, when you look at the other entrepreneur that is in a different sector, this is the testament that the bank is committed to empowering your story. So distinguished guests, what started off as a space to exchange ideas, the Absa Inspire Me Conference has grown into a Pan-African platform for influence, action, sustainable impact, and also a networking opportunity for ladies across the different markets. Last year we hosted over 10,000 women, both in the room and also virtually in Kenya. And we had markets, ladies from different markets. Of course, we had Kenya, Ghana, Zambia, and Uganda and Tanzania. And we also had support from one of our partners, International Trade Center She Trades, which brought other She Trades hubs across Africa. So we also had Rwanda, Nigeria, Mauritius, the Gambia, and also we had buyers from the UK and the representation from Geneva. Fellow ladies and the few gentlemen in the room, at Absa, we believe in the power of women and their contribution in the growth of any economy. In this regard, we support women through our business, our women in business propositions designed to provide our women in business with business banking solutions that give them access to affordable financing, access to local and international markets, business-based information, as well as coaching, mentorship, and growth opportunities. Over the last 4 years, I'm pleased to confirm that we have grown the share of women-owned businesses in our supply chain from 16% to over 18%. That's a kind of measurable change that we are committed to. But today, it is not just about women in business, it is also about women in leadership. Because each and every one of you in this room is a CEO, is an MD, despite the level of the enterprise that you're running. So as we continue with the discussions today, would encourage you to reach out to the next enterprise, next woman within your reach, to support them, to mentor them so that they're able to scale their businesses. So it's not just about the women in leadership, but those also shaping policies, running multinationals, launching innovations, and breaking systems that no longer serve us. Their stories matter deeply because they are helping define Africa's economic narrative. So here is my challenge to you today: participate fully. Yesterday it was a very interactive day, so should today. Interact and participate fully, share boldly your stories, take at least one insight or relationship from this room and turn it into an action. So maybe in a second, you could just whisper to the woman next to you, what was your key learning from yesterday? What was that one word that stood out to you yesterday? Give back to another woman. Giving back, I think yesterday was a challenge that we can do this together. Let's build the future together. Together we can. So let the conversation here today be the spark that inspires transformation, not just professionally, but personally. Before I conclude, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone, Zambia, Kenya, and Ghana teams. We've worked tirelessly over the months to make this happen, and we have put you in place or put you in front because every conversation that was curated was not curated for us as the bank. It was curated for you as the entrepreneurs, as the customers that we serve, because your stories matter, and it's because of you that we survive and thrive within the banking space. Your contributions are evident that in every aspect of this event, we are excited to partner in this journey together. Finally, I want to affirm Africa's commitment to, I want to affirm Absa's commitment to our women economic empowerment, not as a checkbox. We don't do this as just a checklist, or just to make it look good. But this is a commitment from the leadership, from the stakeholders, as a strategic investment. We are honored to walk this journey with you. Let us keep the conversation going. So own your story, because your story matters. Asanteni sana. And I would end Zambia Kuchalo. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Indeed, Zambia Kuchalo. It's a running theme that we've had as, you know, where we grew up in a place where people like be a bit meek and don't share about what you're doing too much and don't over-celebrate yourself. But we're learning that it's okay to brand your story and take it out there. Again, if you don't share your story, other people will. So that's critically important. And she spoke about how we naturalize or adapt ourselves to the spaces that we're in. And it reminds me of on a podcast by Trevor Noah, he was sharing a story how he couldn't afford, or there were circumstances that made him not go to tertiary university. But he started hanging around his friends who would go to class and he would be on the lawn just lounging about with them. And he said he noticed that his mother was so happy about that. And he asked, what's so exciting about me just lounging around with these friends? And she says, no, it's because of the type of space that you're in and the type of people that you're with, because they are certainly going somewhere. So you have no choice but to follow suit. So I think that's what this really speaks to. And also, Joyce also shared about transformation, and that's so important. And speaking on transformation, our next session is a fireside chat that will really share a journey of transformation from dolls to dreams. She's a woman who took what we call childhood curiosity maybe, and wanting representation, and really turned it into an empire of culture. And I'm talking about the lady who is behind Msimbi Dolls and Equip Clothing Limited. So her name is Mainga Banda. She's the founder, and it's a children's retail and learning company that is thriving in Zambia. Just to give you a little bit of a background, she has 15 years of experience working with the United Nations in various countries, and she fully transitioned into entrepreneurship in 2023. And she was the one who was speaking about people would go to her store and they'll be so thrilled because it's something that really took Zambia by storm. We're having little dolls that we can see ourselves in. And a lot of people thought maybe it was a westernized sort of company that had just come to Zambia, to find that it's a Zambian woman doing extraordinary things. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please put your hands together for the dynamic Mainga Banda. Please do come to the stage. Let's put our hands together as she makes her way to the stage. And to anchor this session, we have the head of enterprise, women and youth for Absa Zambia, and her name is Banji. She is an award-winning enterprise brand and communications expert with over 15 years of experience in banking and telecom, in the banking and telecom sectors. And I must say, she's been one of those people who have been tirelessly working to ensure that this conference is as seamless as possible, that just stays as seamless as possible. So as you're putting your hands together for her, make sure it's even louder, because she's been one of the brains behind the success of this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, help me make welcome Banji to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Much better. So I think for me, listening to conversations yesterday, listening to Mainga stand yesterday and make a comment, one thing stuck out. It's normalizing telling the story. And today, what I hope we'll achieve through Mainga is to just understand what her story means, what makes a dream valid. So I think reading her biology yesterday, or her bio, I couldn't help but wonder how, hang on, maybe this is not it. Maybe I want to do something different, and making that dream valid regardless of where you stand. So today, Mainga would like to welcome you to stage.
Thank you so much.
And I think for me, it's really just trying to understand, where did that dream all come from? Where did it start? How did you actually get from UN? Because I think many of us, if you have UN, you sort of have bagged it, right? And you're like, I'm done. This is it until retirement. But for you to actually walk away from all of it and then come back to actually materializing your dream, I think for us, that would be the first part. So maybe over to you in terms of how did you get to that point?
Yeah, thank you so much, Wanji, and thank you, Tahila, for that introduction. I was sitting in my chair and I was like, that's me. Yeah, but good morning, everybody. So my story, actually, the beginning is a very personal one. Mm-hmm. So all I wanted to do 9 years ago when we started Musimbi was to change my daughter's insecurities. So it was a very, very deep and personal situation, and I was trying to help my daughter just get rid of her insecurities in terms of her hair, how she looked, her skin color. So I was very, very determined. Mm-hmm. And so I said, let me find a doll that looks like her.
and I couldn't. There were black dolls, but they didn't look like her. They didn't look like any of us, really, to be honest. So I started looking, and then eventually I found a manufacturer who could make dolls, and I was told it's too expensive to make a black doll.
Wow.
Because you need to add color and things like that. But long story short, I did manage to make the first doll with my daughter's picture. And that doll was our first doll. So that was the first doll we had as Musimbi. Musimbi, by the way, means girl. And so our first doll was called Lindiwe, after my daughter. So that's where the story really began. I wanted to change perception. And very early on, I understood that Musimbi is not about selling dolls. We are in the business of selling self-love, positive representation, and cultural identity. Yeah, so that's how we started.
Okay, great. And we did have Mainga, a picture of the dolls, because I kept telling her, we need to have the doll in the room. And she's like, oh, but it's in the store. And I was like, hang on, we'll make sure we have the doll regardless in the room. So we actually did show a picture of the dolls on screen. Yeah, there we go. So I think for me, it's getting into a space where firstly, you're not able to really get it off the shelf, or it's a longer process, said, you know, it's more expensive. So maybe you could just tell us the first 6 to 12 months of, you know, what was the most defining component of that, being a startup in that space, already competing with existing dolls that, you know, I can walk into a store, and I think as women, and maybe the men will also have a sense of that, where it just defines who you are growing up as a child. You know, you want to have your doll because it brings you a certain level of security, you want to play with it, so that's the self-love that you're talking about. But maybe you can talk to us about the first 6 to 12 months. What was really that all about, playing in a space that you hadn't played before?
Right. So the first 6 to 12 months got overwhelming really quickly. So remember that I had a full-time job. I worked for UNICEF in different countries for 15 years. And so I was doing this over a weekend. And I had to learn very quickly that this is actually retail. I'm retailing. I started off, every time I come to Zambia for a holiday, I would sell them off to my friends, and they'll be like, wow. And then it became a business. It became so real very quickly. And then I understood that my passion for what I was doing was not enough. It was not enough. So I quickly realized that I needed structure.
Yep.
I needed compliance. And structure, I meant I needed customer service. I needed to know how to speak to my customers, because they were no longer my friends. Because eventually I would just sell them to my friends and my sisters. So I had to learn those things, and it became real very quickly. And in terms of compliance, I got to understand that there are statutory obligations.
Prizes. It's how do you just make sure that you actually have the right structure? And structure not just from a staffing point, structure from a governance perspective, because that also feeds into one line that many a time we actually don't look at, which is funding. So if you don't have your compliance in place, you know, that also gets to affect how investor ready you are. And I think for me, it's really just trying to understand further around just the structure piece, how that has positively impacted you from growing from small scale to you actually scaling up in a very short period of time. And I hear you when you talk about customer service, but sometimes you find that because I'm starting, or my business, I perceive my business to be small, I will therefore not invest in certain areas like customer service. For as long as I have my niece or my sister at the front desk, I'll tick a box and say, well, I have customer service. But maybe let's just unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, Vanji, when you are starting, you really don't have the money to hire someone to do those things for you. You are doing customer service, you're doing social media. That's the honest truth. You start by doing all that. There are people out there who can help you. I heard a lady yesterday in the audience say, this is what I do for a living, I can do your compliance. Who's going to afford her? Like at that time, in that 1 year, I couldn't afford to hire that kind of professional. So I'm hiring the lowest level staff, and we are learning together, making the mistakes. And I realized that this thing had grown. And so we had transitioned into retail stores. And from there, I realized I needed money. So with all my soul and with all my huge UN salary, I would put in everything in that business. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Every little penny. And that still was not enough. I looked to scale because remember I started with dolls. And then in retail, I had to pay rent in dollars at ISPAC. And I remember that I realized that this door is not enough for me to pay my rentals in this store. So very quickly, to scale up, I had to look into other things. What else can I do? So our product range expanded, backpacks, accessories, and that was so organic in the sense that I listened to the customer. And when the customer came into our store, they would say, why don't you have bags? Then we would ask them, what kind of bags? Because that's not something I thought about. I was trying to change my daughter's insecurities. And so we grew, and we expanded our product range so much that we were able to be sustainable. Yeah, so I think to answer your question, that's how we went about it in that time.
Okay, and I won't get to, because marketing your product is really important, but let's take a moment around the transition from dolls, because that really was your vision, right?
Yeah.
And then you sort of find that as you're going along, the vision keeps changing. And now you're into bags, and maybe let's just take a moment so that the audience can see the bags. So these are being manufactured here in Zambia locally. So I think she needs a round of applause for that. And then I think talking to you when we were having a conversation is how you said, because of trying to satisfy elements around the doll, you then went into bags, and then you birthed a new company called Equip, which is now supplying you, if I can call it that, is supplying Musimbi doll with accessories. So obviously a young girl to identify with her doll, but she also wants to look cool, if I can call it that, with the backpack. So now you're actually launching a trend. So maybe how do you tell us about that transition into actually now going into manufacturing bags and other elements, and then also the drive for marketing your product? Because many a time we'll think, well, as long as I have it on shelf, it'll sell itself. You know, so maybe let's talk about that a little.
Right. So Equip Clothing Factory is a manufacturing company. We have about 120 workers who are tailors. Thank you. And how this started, this was birthed from Musimbi. And during COVID, remember that I started off importing my products with for the stores. Everything is coming from China, yeah. And I'm receiving it, everything is all rosy, and then COVID happened. COVID happened, and then the supply chain was dead. It was disrupted. I couldn't bring in any product. So to survive, I thought, why don't I just start making uniforms locally? Let me think of something local, just to survive, you know? And I remember that I bought 2 sewing machines in Kamwala for our Ghanaian and Kenyan colleagues. This is a market, our local market, where we buy things. So I bought these 2 machines, and I was like, let me start making even little T-shirts for the girls, you know? Maybe that will help. So I needed to survive. It was really a survival thing. And Equip started because of Musimbi, in the sense that we wanted to make products for Musimbi. So, and then eventually it grew so much, it became an obsession. I need to buy this machine. I need to buy this. I need to buy this. Eventually I looked at myself and I had over 100 machines.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, so I think for me, just hearing you speak right now, is it 2 or 3 things stick out. First, there will always be an opportunity in adversity.
Yeah.
And I think many of us, when we're going through something bad, we sort of think this is the end, and we are not looking for the silver lining. So kudos to you for finding that silver lining. But also, I think it's the aspect that you were willing to learn. you know, and sometimes we sort of think that I've peaked, you know, I'm at my peak, and therefore there's no more room for me to grow. There's no more space because I'm here, I've arrived. Right. I think in Zambia, maybe for our Kenya and Ghana colleagues, we have a phrase where we say, I've arrived. And arrived means I've made it, you know, I've made it. So we kind of think, I'm the owner of the business, I've arrived. Yeah. So it's really good to see that you were still able to, you know, be open to learning, and you know, Google University is one that I think we can all learn from here. Yeah. But I think in also hearing you, there's an important aspect around mentorship that I would like to ask on, because sometimes you have to look to the next person who's gone ahead of you and, you know, is playing in a space. But if you have actually ventured in an undefined space as you did, this had never been seen on the Zambian market. COVID had hit, your supply chain, you know, sort of got cut. Who was actually helping you in the back end? Did you have a mentor? And what role do you think mentorship or collaboration actually play in helping you scale?
Right. Banji, mentorship is very important. I never had a traditional mentor, but there are some women I looked up to, you know, without them knowing. There's a Kenyan lady, I think the Kenyan colleagues in here would know. Her name is Wandia, the owner of Vivo. And there's another lady, Adenike, from Nigeria. I had an opportunity to meet her when I was in Nigeria, and she owns a brand called Raf and Tambo. Both these women have these retail brands, and they have a clothing factory, and they produce in those countries. Then I looked at them, and I was like, I want to do this, you know? And you know, one thing about me and the people who are very close to me that they know about me is that I take risks. Yeah. I'm not afraid to do that. And to be honest, I'm a go-getter. When I want to do something, I do it. So yeah, I didn't have mentors like a traditional mentor, but I watched those ladies grow their businesses. I almost was watching them every day, how they started. I go to their social media pages, what they post, how did they get here? You know, you can also talk to someone to learn. You will see what were they thinking? You know, you really get into their stories and be like, wow, I've learned so much. And I learned so much, and I still do. I still follow them with all my heart. And at some point, I asked myself, wow, Mainga, you look like these people, you know? Like at some point, if you follow somebody so closely.
That is something that we must all think about. The fact that somebody could be watching you, even in this moment, that somebody is actually you, even in this moment. So mentorship, I know, is really big. And sometimes I always say it's almost like a buzzword. But you can be mentored from far. And I think, Mainga, thank you for that. Thank you for that lesson today, that there are actually moments where, because you were watching somebody and you were invested in trying to be like them, you have actually gotten this far. And I think she deserves another round of applause for that. And maybe as we are coming to a close, it's just one other question that I would like to ask. And, you know, if you had to wish somebody else who was on a similar journey, or maybe is even just at the point of conceiving an idea of starting their business, what exactly would you tell that person?
I would tell them to start. To start where they are, start scared, start unprepared, but start. Why is that important? It's because growth is very perfectly hidden in the mistakes that we make, in the customer feedback. That's where growth is hiding. I'll tell you very quickly, I know we're about to end, of an example that happened both in Equip, actually, and Musimbi. With Musimbi, the time that before we started producing our own bags locally, one of the consignment of bags that we brought in was all bad. Customers were complaining on Facebook. And I can see some of my customers in here, you know, and they have no mercy. They will just write bad things on Facebook, and you're like, oh my God, oh my God. But what that teaches you is, what can I do better? How will I change this? And that's the reason why for us, with Musimbi is I was very determined to produce these bags locally. One, I could monitor the quality. I didn't have to buy huge quantities. I would make 50 and test them. Oh, they like them, so I'm going to make 1,000, you know. So yeah, I would tell that person to just start, make mistakes. That's how you grow, and it's okay.
Okay, thank you. And I think on that, another round of applause for her. But if we can take our pens and paper before us, there is a very fundamental statement that has been made. And I won't say it exactly how she said it. It will be a little bit paraphrased, but it's growth is made in the challenges that we face. There is growth. So growth does not necessarily mean failure. You know, when something doesn't work, we sort of beat ourselves up. But there's actually growth, and I think thank you for teaching us that lesson today. And maybe on that growth part, I would like to ask my final question, if you could define what success means for you today.
Wow. Yeah, so, you know, my definition of success has really evolved from the time I started. When I started, success was the next sale, which is the next product. But now I look at success very differently. It's about what can I build that is sustainable, something bigger than me that will outlive me. I want to see Musimbi and Equip outliving me. It should be bigger than me. It's also about, you know, at some point, as you grow in this business, you realize it's not about you. It's about the 120 staff that I have in the factory and their families, and what happens to them. Yeah. You know, so it's bigger than me. It's the impact that I see that Musimbi and Equip are really making. Yeah, so that's what success is for me now.
Thank you, and thank you for that, Mainga. And yeah, I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's starting. Start today. Start scared. Start anyway. Embrace failure. Embrace growth. And leave a lasting legacy. I think these have been key words for me that have come out. And at this point, I think we could give her another round of applause as we end the conversation. So thank you for telling your story, Mainga. And I think a lot more people need to hear this story. Be brave enough to tell it over and over again. And you know, there's one client who I was speaking to, and she says, no, but I'm tired. You know, people are tired of hearing my story because I've said it on so many different platforms. But in telling your stories as enterprises, you just don't know who else you'll be impacting. I, for one, maybe may just have an idea, and the fact that I've heard your story might trigger something. So we do thank you for, sharing your story on this platform. And I think, true to our theme, elevating her story, united for purpose, we can all come together and be able to tell our stories one at a time, but most importantly, impact those people around us, impact our employees. Please, even if they are just two, even if you are alone, you can impact yourself, because you can introspect and also try and see where else can I learn. So ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mainga as we come to the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, Banji, one last thing. It would be a big disservice for me to go back to my office with these bags. So for your audience who have little girls, please, Banji, I'll leave them in your hands and you will pick.
So we actually had two hands go up very quickly, but let me start this. And I want to give a brave man. So we'll give two in the room, one for online. But there was a very brave man who lifted his hands. And men, we can be brave. So, please. A gift from Zambia to Ghana. Thank you. So to the lady who lifted her hand in white, I do see you. So let's take a vote. So can the two ladies stand? And please, this is where you support your team, right? So there was a team this side, on my left, and a team on the right. Let's put it up for a vote. Oh, she's an Absa. We'll make it up to you, so she's well branded. Okay, thank you, Mainga, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the morning.
Another round of applause. That was a fireside conversation. And I think that was really the perfect way to kick off today's conversations. You know, there's so much that was brought out. Okay, the first thing I noticed, this side was too quiet yesterday, but now when it comes to freebies, you're making a lot of noise. I'm just trying to understand. Please, let's keep this energy the same way. I beg. You know, I learned so much from the conversation today. Number one, it talks about how literally every cloud has a silver lining. Msimbi Doors was hit with COVID and everything that happened with it. Nobody even needs to explain the impact of COVID. But what she did was she turned this challenge, this very great challenge, into such a great opportunity for not just herself, but for over 100 other Zambians. And she's continued to support them. So it also speaks into sustainability. But you also need to be resilient. And then again, I know we'll keep drumming this into you, but sharing your story also matters. Possibly, if those two ladies from Kenya and Nigeria, respectively, did not have the courage to share their stories, maybe she wouldn't have been as maybe inspired or maybe thought like, maybe this can be done. And that's why representation matters. So don't get tired of selling your story, sharing your story, telling the next person. And then what's so important is, yes, we call ourselves small and medium enterprises, but legacy is important. Yes, it can be a small business now, but let's think of the future. Let's think about legacy. Let's think of the next generation to come. And let's think of imparting this knowledge to others. We complain in Zambia about the manufacturing industry and how it's gone down. I always hear stories from my dad about how we used to manufacture glasses and we used to manufacture so many other things. But we need to celebrate these stories of resilience that even in the face of where we have maybe a dwindling manufacturing industry, but we have people who are still pushing.
Thanks. So I just wanted to make a mention that I think it would have been amiss of us not to give the lady the bag, because we could be breaking a young girl's dream. And, you know, we never know whether that will be the next Musimbi manufacturer. So we will give the online audience a bag as well. But I think for the purpose of the room and the interaction that we had, we hope she can also be happy to receive something on behalf of Musimbi and Absa. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Every problem has a solution. There we go. And we're seeing it being actualized throughout this conference. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch the program around a little bit because it has delayed. So we'll quickly go into our tea break. But before we do that, we do have an online audience and we have people who've been watching, who've been following. There's someone who's even commenting that they're currently in a bus to work or going somewhere, but they're like, we're watching. And please keep it coming. So they're really inspired. So these stories that we're sharing, these conversations that we're having are not going to stay here. And that's never going to be that purpose. But we're supposed to just launch out into the deep and do better things and transform basically the face of Africa. Daliso, please come through. Africa used to be called the dark continent. We know that, right? But we're lighting it up. And it's one story at a time.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, once again. So I'm just going to read some of the comments that we've been receiving online. And one comes from Irene, and she has said, I have no doubt I made the right decision to be a part of this conference. And speaking on the person who was on the bus, she actually said it's always been a dream of hers to start a clothing brand, and she's been very inspired by this, and she's glad she's tuned in during her travels. Then lastly, at some point, there were no comments in the comment section. People were just clapping. They were very inspired by what was being said. Just claps and hearts all around. So truly inspiring, and thank you. Just speak up. You never know who this story is reaching and what it may do for their lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deli. So please keep the comments coming. Please share the lives and just make sure that tag some friends of yours that you know that will be inspired by these stories. And as Manga also said, you literally become the people that you hang around with. And it's so important. So even the friendships, let's evaluate them. The pool of people that you spend your time with, even over the weekend, let's evaluate those. And I always say, Les Brown says that if you have 9 broke friends, my friend, you are the 10th broke friend. And with that, let's please have our tea break. Refreshments are in the lobby, and we'll be having it for a good 20 minutes. So we'll be calling you through. And please, when we beckon you to come in, we just ask that you can quickly come in so that we can promptly move on with the program. Thank you. auditorium and settling down. Let's make our way into the auditorium and settle down. I hope those in the foyer can hear my voice. Please, let's start making our way into the auditorium. May we make our way into the auditorium, please? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to have you in the room. From the sounds of the conversations, I can hear that we're a bit energized. So let's make sure that we channel that energy and all that love. Send the next speakers. Let's just make sure that we are as welcoming as possible. The same way you'd like it if you were the one on stage, correct? Lots of people say that public speaking is intimidating. It can be, especially when you don't do it often. But even if you do it often, if you have an audience that's just looking at you with blank stares, it becomes even more intimidating. So when you can, share a smile, break out into laughter. Of course, you don't have to fake it, but at least let's not be too rigid. We're here to network after all. With that, I'd like us to turn our attentions to the screen and hear a testimonial from a client in the name of Onge Bags. Speaking of bags, we clearly are on this trend. And this is a woman in bank inspired. Let's learn. And yeah, let's engage.
My name is Anita Esikito. I am the creative director and founder of Oye Bags and Clothing. Oye Bags started off as a hobby, and we've been doing this for the past 8 years. We use repurposed leather to make bags, and then what we do is we inculcate into our designs unique or very authentic African fabrics. What Absa Inspire Me Conference has done for us is not only have we been inspired by the different stories of very influential women, we've had the opportunity to interact with industry players, we've had the opportunity to relate with other people who are doing similar things like us. We've also created important contacts and networks that will help us in the future when we decide to move into this market.
There we go. And now let's spotlight on one of the most crucial levers for scaling African enterprises. Any guesses what that is? Trade. Yeah? Sustainable cross-border trade. Market access. We spoke about market access a lot yesterday. Policy hurdles. We spoke about hurdles yesterday, either in the form of regulation, policy, or even just a bureaucratic nature of certain hurdles that can come about, and working capital. But as we're on the topic of trade, I'd like to remind us that DHL is in the house. They've got a shipping room, and you can facilitate any shipment that you'd like to at this moment. They've come on board as a partner, but not only that, if you want to learn more about how you can either export or import your products into Zambia, I think this is the opportunity to do so. Sometimes we get so caught up in our day-to-day work, and you've been wanting to inquire, but sometimes life just does what it does. So the opportunity is here. Make sure that you locate them. They're easily identifiable. I saw one or two that are well branded, so make sure you visit the stand as well as the shipping room. So now, to lead us into this critical conversation on trade, we will be joined by a man who's helping shape the trade and finance ecosystem for over 800 million people across 21 member country states, a man dedicated to digital transformation, women empowerment, and unlocking Africa's potential. With that, ladies and gentlemen, help me make welcome the COMESA Assistant Secretary General, Admin and Finance, Dr. Dev Haman. Continue to put your hands together as he makes his way to the podium, please.
Good morning, ladies, and should I say gent or should I stop with ladies? Because I see more the ladies here than the gent, except me and a few. Okay, I can see some of you there. Thank you very much, facilitator and what to say, I say director of ceremony, and you colleagues for welcoming me here to talk about trade, cross-border trade, and policy. But before I do that, let me tell you how happy I am and how happy would have been if the COMESA head of state would have been here. You know, the COMESA head of state, their dream, you know what is their dream? Their dream is to see ladies like you creating employment for ladies or men. Because this is what is their dream. And when their dream is being realized by people like you, they are more, I would say, happier than me. I want to see. Because the biggest challenge that we have in our continent is not resources, is not idea, is not human resources, but how to make all those resources, be it capital, be it the natural resources, be it human resources, come together to create wealth, and through the wealth you employ people that are unemployed. There is no way we can create a better Africa by not creating wealth, by not employing what I would say the youth and the women. You know, in the early 80s or 90s, the president of Malawi, who was then the Secretary General of COMESA, he already identified the power in women. The power that lies in women, which is the power to transform the family, the power to transform the community, the power to transform the society and even the country. And he came forward to create what today is known as the COMESA Federation of Women in Business, which is hosted in Malawi. I don't know whether my chair is here or not. I talked to her yesterday to come, and he promised to come. He would have come, and she would have also been pleasantly surprised by the good work that you are doing. Because we believe in you. COMESA believe in you. All the political system that we have in the 21 countries, they believe in you. And most importantly, the head of state believe in you. I was listening to Mainga, where she started, and today she's employing 120 people. If each one of us, we start a business, and we should not be like Mainga employing 120, maybe 100, you know how far we can go in resolving unemployment problem? It's not only about resolving unemployment problem, but it is also about making sure that we create wealth. You know, Madam Sakala was asking me, how long have you stayed in Zambia? You know, I have stayed so long in Zambia that when I go back home, they ask me, where do you come from? Because they have even forgotten that I'm a Mauritian like them. I'm a Mauritian. But I have spent almost going into my 28 years in Zambia. Why I have spent so much time? I have spent my time with COMESA. COMESA celebrated 30 years of its creation last year. We celebrated 30, so can you imagine 20 years out of the 30 years? So I was 2 years old when I joined COMESA. And now I spent. So the whole spirit of COMESA is about creating one single space. Sorry, Queen Mother, I should have recognized you. But I'm doing it a bit late, but it is good that at least I recognize you and all of those who are here, government officials, captain of the industry, and all, I would say, business ladies. COMESA is what about creating a market which you can move freely. Not only your goods should be able to move freely, but you also should be moving freely. We cannot have a market that you have to apply for a visa 5 months before and get it in the 7th month. Maybe the banks themselves, they don't do it anymore. You apply for a loan, you get it on the 6 or 7 days. But how can you apply for a visa that comes to you after 6 months? This is one of the biggest challenges which we are still struggling. And this has started being resolved, and I'm very happy that the Kenyan ladies who are here, they have resolved this problem. Now that, at first they were saying that you can come freely, and when you go there, they say, but did you fill in your electronic form? And we say, but why are you saying that you can come freely, but then when we come there, you say you have to fill in the electronic form? So now they have removed that hurdle, so they have started saying now. So let's give a big round of applause to the Kenyan. And you just go there, they will allow you entry. And it's not only entry, that's what the story that I got. It helps you to interact. It helps you to cross-fertilize your thought. It helps you to cross-fertilize your business. And you learn a lot from all those. So creating a single market that you can move in the 55 or the 54 countries of African Union, we need to dismantle the requirement for visa. That is one of the things that COMESA is working. We are not yet there, but I'm sure we should be there together. And why it is important that I wish someone, a politician, had been here throughout, so that they hear you and what are your challenges. You see, you don't need anything from the government. Am I right? Because you have everything. But what you need from them is facilitation. Facilitate for me to move around. Facilitate for my goods to move around. Facilitate for my business to be moving around. And these are very important. There is no way that you can expand, like what you were saying, leveraging. Leveraging a story. The way I understood it, they already have a story. Because what you have, each one of you have 120 people. I myself, I could not employ. Despite I am the ASD of COMESA. Difficult for me to employ 120, but you are doing it. And you have that freedom to hire and fire. Am I right? So you have that freedom of hiring and firing, which I can't do. So you can see that despite 800 million, whatever it is, but we are not in the business of hiring and firing. But what we are here, we are in the business of making you grow. We make you grow, but if you have to make you grow, we need to make sure, you have seen a small baby, a small child when they start walking. What do? We watch, we remove all hurdles. So that even the child doesn't even know that there was a hurdle here in front. Well before the child knows what was there before, what was not there, he will keep walking. So that is the role of COMESA. We do a lot of things without being inside of you. You might not even know what we are doing. But what today we have done, if you are able to travel from Ghana, from Kenya, and from other countries, you will see that the sky, we call it the sky, for us, we keep liberalizing the sky. What does it mean, liberalizing the sky? We mean that we allow aircraft, we allow planes to be coming to your country, and you are able to go to other countries. I'm sure in all African states today, maybe a few of them, but you have a full choice of which airline to choose to go to Joburg, which airline to choose to go to Kenya, which airline to choose to go any part of this African destination. You might, maybe you don't know the story, but it has been a long struggle to make sure that all this happens, providing you with transport, whether it is transport at national level or transport at international level. But we work mostly with international. For us, our business is to connect you from one country to another country. To connect Zambia with Kenya, to connect Zambia with Burundi, to connect Zambia with Rwanda. And you have seen that how many airlines have come into Zambia now. To the point that government of Zambia has constructed a new airport. And it will keep growing. And it is not only happening in Zambia, it is happening all over our COMESA countries. Of course, COMESA is about a regional. It just has got 21 countries, and I'm happy that out of the 3 countries present here, 2 of the countries are from COMESA. Kenya is a COMESA member. Zambia is a COMESA member. But Ghana has got a story very special for those who don't know. The father of integration, the president who advocated for a united Africa is none other than President Kwame Nkrumah. Those of you who don't know, just Google and you will see. The man behind integration. Because they had that agenda of freeing the continent. They said, let's liberalize our continent from the colonial masters. Let's liberalize. But they knew that it was coming. They knew that it was coming and it would be achieved. But what they started preparing, not only that political freedom, but we needed economic freedom too. And Kwame Nkrumah was the head behind it, of forming what we call, he came with the idea of forming United Africa, because he studied in America, he lived in America, he saw the United States of America, and he said, all these 55 countries of Africa, they should be united. They should be one. The question of moving around, the question for money moving around, for example, if you have to transfer money today from Ghana to Zambia, it might take how many days? A week? Some of them might even take 3, 4 days, or same day. With Absa Ghana. But if you go with Absa, another country, or we go to Absa with Standard Chartered Bank, or Absa, another one you can see. But what I'm saying, he thought about having a united Africa, where we move, our money should be moving freely. No one should be taxing our money. No one should be doing anything to prevent us, our money, our goods and services. Another good thing is that, okay, I've heard about you are mostly in goods, in producing, making your products. It's good that I was sitting also next to Mercy. She is an author, she's a writer. And that is something which we encourage, because it really helped, because it was, make it a profession. It will help you, because that is also, it keeps, and I was also telling her that when your brain is active, Parkinson will not visit you. You know, Parkinson only visits you when your brain is not active. So the moment you write, whatever it is, just keep writing. And that's what I told her. I said, no, I did not know. I said, no, you're going a good job. You will not need doctors in the future, because your Parkinson will not come to. You know, I prepared something, and this is one of my biggest challenges. Whatever I prepare, I forget. I always forget whatever I prepare, and I come and talk to you freely. Because my job is to talk. You know, in Comesa, that's what we are employed to do. We are employed to come and talk. And yesterday the chairman was saying, you know, we should stop talking, we should be also acting. I say, yes, we should also be acting, but we remain at the part of talking. We remain at the part of talking, but we give the action to you people. So Comesa does a lot of talking, a lot of engagement. But when we were doing that trade policy, we saw that people who are going to Congo, or who are going to Malawi, or are going to Zimbabwe to do your business, you're being stopped by the custom people. Then we developed what we call a tool that will allow you to move freely with that, what we call the simplified trade regime. Of course, if you visit our website, so it is a tool that we have done within Comesa country. When you are moving across border, like between Zambia and Congo, between Zambia, Rwanda, and other countries, you just use that tool and you move across nobody, but provided it is a Zambian good. It is made by Zambia. Don't take a Chinese product and you use that tool. You say, no, 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 I'm carrying a certificate, which you can take either from Kenya, you go to Ethiopia, Kenya, you go to Uganda, or you can even go to Sudan. And that will allow you to move freely. And we even did something between Zambia and Mozambique and DRC on fish. You know, they export a lot of fish. Zambia exports a lot of fish, going to Mozambique, going to DRC and Zimbabwe. And those fish, at times, it takes weeks for them to cross the border. By the time they reach the other side of the border, the fish is already rotten. And you lose your business. So we developed another sort of a certificate called Green Pass. And we put laboratories at the borders so that the laboratory check the fish, give a certificate. The president of Zambia was the chair of that summit of Comesa. Last year we organized it in Burundi. This year we are organizing it in Kenya. And Kenyan ladies, I hope you are, even in Kenya they do the same thing, even in DRC, in all countries they group them together. And when you are grouped together, you have that collective muscle, and you have that collecting. And this year, like I said, we will be in Kenya, and on the 7th October, please, ladies of Kenya, but even Zambia, even Ghana, you are invited. Join us. There will be a regional trade fair and exhibition. You can come and put your product the way you did. I think yesterday all the products were sold out. Imagine just with 100 people here, all your products were sold out on not even a day, in maybe an hour or 2 hours. But this is an opportunity for you also to showcase your products, to showcase your skill, and this is what will happen on 7 October. So you come, and every year we do at least 3 to 4 regional fairs. We take our women in business to different places. In April this year, we were in Addis Ababa, in Ethiopia. And you won't believe, despite people complain about Addis, they have more than 5 million women in business, more than 5 million. Huge and massive. They are so huge and massive, the Association of Women in Business in Ethiopia, that they don't need any support from the government. Because the government, 5 million votes, you know what it means? And 5 million votes, for me, I get elected to be an MP anytime. So if you group yourself within Zambia, maybe 5 million or 3 million, any politician will start coming and asking you, what do you need? I'm here ready to provide you. But these are the powers you have, and you have to come together. You know, if you don't stop me, I keep talking. So let me stop here by thanking you all. Really, you have inspired me more than I should be. And I am really, really very happy to be standing in front of you. So what I said, I prepared, I did not give, but I believe whatever I said, you will be able to put into practice. There's a lot that you can get from our website, but my job was to make you and to direct you toward our website to know COMESA rather.
We're also reinvestors. Yesterday I read out a couple of stats, and the one that has stood out and he's reminded me of is the fact that about 90% of the revenue and income received by women is reinvested into education, into nutrition, and into their communities. Any guesses how the percentage that is reinvested by our male counterparts? 40%. But that is a conversation for another day. We also spoke about, well, he also spoke about rather, how there is a need for us to be able to freely move within the African Union, and especially to have our goods to be facilitated so that we can move them, so that we don't have our fish, be it Kariba bream or the tilapia, busy rotting, because that's such huge investments going to waste. But I believe that we will get there. There is hope, because a lot of things do start with strategic conversations. It starts with dialogue. Even with regards to conflict, it begins with dialogue. Shifting misconceptions and shifting so many misunderstandings. So, excuse me, I believe that there's definitely hope for that. I don't know how many of us will live to see it, but we're definitely hopeful with regards to the same. So now let's delve deeper into this conversation of trade. It's not just about ideas, it's also about action. And what are the tools and what are some of the barriers and the real opportunities that are on the table? So we have a very powerful panel lined up for you. These are powerhouse professionals who are not only talking about African trade, but are actively shaping it. Ladies and gentlemen, help me make welcome to the stage our first panelist from Zambia Development Agency, Musonda Chizinga, who is a key stakeholder in Zambia's investment promotion and export development space. Through her leadership, ZDA continues to champion inclusive policy formulation and trade facilitation. Let's put our hands together for her, please. And coming through right from our shipping room is Maximilian Effa, who is the DHL Group Program Manager. He has over 7 years of experience in managing cross-border road freight operations in Southern and Eastern Africa. He focuses on breaking trade barriers for SMEs and unlocking intra-African trade opportunities. Your hands together, please. And our last panelist for this session, we have Ambrose, who hails from Ghana Export Promotion Authority. He is a financial services professional with 16 years of progressive experience across trade and working capital, credit, product sales, and customer experience. For over 8 years, he has specialized in delivering strategic cross-border trade solutions for corporates, working with clients across Africa to unlock liquidity and grow sustainably. Your hands together, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, panelists. Thank you very much, and it is a privilege to be here today. And taking from all the great inspiring stories and insights that have been given, I've also want to take one for myself. I'm particularly inspired by the women-led businesses that are mothers. So for all the women in here who are mothers and are leading businesses, I want to share an appreciation for that. Please keep up the good work. Thank you. So to kick us off today, this morning, intra-Africa trade is seen as a gateway to increased economic development and regional integration. Today, we will explore key barriers and opportunities that boost Africa's growth. I will start off with you, Musonda. I know the Zambia Development Agency has done quite a number of trade missions, both in Africa and across the world. What are the key barriers you feel that women exporters face in entering regional or global markets, and how is ZDA addressing this?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we have a lot of trade missions that we have carried on throughout the region, the continent, and the world. There are a number of trade barriers that we have noticed that women in a business are facing, but also exporters in entirety. One of them is lack of trade financing. That is a huge one that we have, and when we have clients coming in and talking about trade financing, we do have solutions for that. The Zambia Development Agency has set up a fund called the Zambia Export Development Fund that is able to finance businesses that are in trade to help them to progress and fulfill whatever contracts they have. Another one that we have seen has been lack of information for market access. Many a time we have people that go on their own and conduct businesses, cross-border businesses, and are shorthanded because they don't understand the terrain that they're navigating through, because they don't have understanding of the knowledge of trade agreements and also the opportunities they have in different countries. And to cure that, we have various capacity building programs. I'll just take it a bit back. Zambia Development Agency has a mandate to promote investment and trade and business development. And to help businesses do that, we first introduce them to the business development department that we have. And we have capacity building programs including entrepreneurship, financial leadership, how to build a business plan, and also how to manage your business. And once companies are comfortable and have graduated to that, they then transition to the export department, in where we help them in hand-holding them, mentorship, and also having courses with them. The export readiness course equips our clientele with how to produce and also to export your products cross-border through the region and the continent and the world over. So with all this information that we have sitting, it is available for everyone to come in. The courses are not a cost to anyone, and you are equipped with all that information. So these are the things that are in place to help businesses overcome the challenges.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to you, Maximilian. From a logistics is a key enabler to a successful cross-border trade. From DHL's experience, what are the top logistical hurdles that SME, especially women-led businesses, face when shipping products across Africa?
Thanks a lot for that. And again, good morning to you all, ladies, and the minority gentlemen here. Good morning to you as well. So yes, great point. And when it comes to logistics, it's something we need to keep in mind is there's a fine line between when your product is created or manufactured or sourced to when your customer finally receives it. And many business owners tend to forget that there is a lot of things that takes place for your product to get to its final destination. domestically in the domestic market of moving it from one city to another city, that's one small issue. The minute it goes cross-border, regionally, all of a sudden something new pops in. Customs. What is customs, right? Tariffs, duties, ad valorem, VATs, all these things. And what you come to realize is that if, as a business owner, you don't understand some of these terms, some of these issues, it will affect the delivery experience that your customers are going to get. Like has been rightly mentioned, it is very important that as a business owner that wants to trade across borders, you do understand what is required for your products to successfully be exported, that it's packaged in the right way, in a sustainable way, that it arrives at a destination country and it is cleared appropriately, and finally, for your customer to receive it with the right delivery experience, the way you to your customer. So a couple of things play into this. Understanding the fundamentals of what takes place when my courier or my logistics service provider picks up my products. After the customer's ordered, it's being delivered, it's being picked up. What is taking place? What paperwork do I need to send through? And so within DHL, similarly, we have this capacity building program called Go Trade, that as in literally go and trade. And it tries to start by setting the foundation to understand what is taking place in the background. And once this foundation has been set up, then we can go on to the next step about actually moving the shipments, getting the right documentation, making sure that the right information is being passed on, and so on. Now, these problems are not limited to just women-owned businesses, but women-owned businesses tend to be the ones that suffer the most for a myriad of reasons. For one, the access to information, the access to the trainings, and so on. And so these are some of the things that at a very fundamental level need to be addressed and causes a lot of issues if it's not well taken care of.
Thank you for that, Maximilian. We'll move on to you, Ambrose. Ghana has made significant strides in export readiness. What has GAPA done specifically to support women exporters, and are these models that Zambia could adopt?
Hello, good morning, everyone. Marching to all the Ghanaians here. And then Mawanka Branch, yeah, exactly. Mawanka Branch to all the Zambians here. Thank you. The Ghana Export Promotion Authority, of which I represent, I will be using GEPA. So if you hear GEPA, it's the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. It's the national agency that is supposed to facilitate, develop, and promote exports of Ghanaian NTs. If I say NTs is national traditional export product, in that is a product that has been value has been added to. So imagine if it's raw gold, the export promotion doesn't work, it's added to it, then it becomes a product that can be exported. So in this case, we facilitate trade promotions, access to market, do advocacy, train with our export school, train our exporters on branding, packaging, and all the compliances that they will have to. It's exactly like the ZDA of Zambia. So we do all these things to promote with the Ghana Export School, we give the exporters a lot of training so that they can have access to the training that we give them for them to be able to market. When this is done, we also facilitate financial, like with the banks, get them to facilitate loans or access loans, because most of them, their challenge is about financing. We also have, as part of the training programs, have signed MOUs with the International Trade Conference so that we also give this type of training to the exporters. So all these, we have sections that are such as the agribusiness, the research and development, which do a lot of market research for these women, and the, excuse me, sorry, give this that they need. So with this, from the Zambian side, we are already collaborating with the ZDA on certain things that can be done, especially with training and also capacity building that they can learn from the Ghana side that can help them. When it comes to apparels, with the Zambian sector, they like the African print, but most of them don't know how to do this, sew them. So we're trying to have this collaboration with them whereby we will bring in people to Zambia or send the Zambians to Ghana so that we can give them the training for them to be able to open up the market for them, and also with the expos and trade fairs that we attend, that they can also have access to them.
Thank you very much, Ambrose, for that. Moving along to integration across Africa. Earlier on Thursday, when the delegates were coming through, I had an interesting conversation with one of the delegates from Ghana, actually, who's in cashew nut and soybeans processing. And she did mention quite a number of hurdles that she was facing with regards to access to markets as well as raw materials. From your perspective, Sonda, ZDA recently hosted Zambia Investment Summit. What are the key barriers that see women exporters face in entering regional or global markets, and how is ZDA addressing these?
Thank you for that. So I will reiterate once again that we do have these information and capacity building courses. One of the issues that we faced with entrepreneurs, SMEs, is that we all are striving to get into business. And we have heard testimonies here about wanting to be in business, having more than one stream of income. But there's a lack of hunger. There's a difference between desire and a hunger for business. Because when you see entrepreneurs that are hungry, it's very easy to spot them. You will go out and look for information. When there's a multitude of bodies that are there available to help. But when you're not hungry enough, you're expecting that information to come to you. And also, I would look at the knowledge. When you don't have the knowledge of, you don't know what you don't know. And it's important to seek advice as to whether it's a market access. What happens if I want to export cashew nuts to, maybe say Ghana? And what is the process that is required of me? ZRA is involved, Ministry of Agriculture involved, ZDA helps facilitate all of that. So we have a gap in knowledge. And it also, what hinders them is the fragmented trade policies that we have in terms of harmonization of products, product standards. What is required here in Zambia? If an exporter fulfills all those requirements here locally, it will not be the same as going to Nigeria, going to Kenya, going to Ghana. So these trade policies do not help exporters. However, we have trade agreements in place that are trying to remedy that. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that is using COMESA as a building block to that, to unify countries in Africa, to trade in one block that helps to amalgamate everything. So those are another one, a major one I'll add, is the mindset. I'm glad that we have had SMEs come here talking about the struggles that they have faced and what it has birthed after that. Business in Zambia is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. And now that we are changing our minds to see opportunities where we find barriers before.
Thank you very much. Maximilian, how is DHL simplifying global and regional e-commerce logistics for small businesses? Any products or initiatives tailored for women entrepreneurs?
Thanks for that. And I think it's a great sequence for this question to come right after yours, because I'm going to go back to, there are three things I want to speak on. Capacity building and collaboration. Second thing would be on shipping options, and then specialized SME rate cards kind of thing. But I'll speak to each one of them. Capacity building and collaborations, in the sense that it is clear there are many issues SMEs face. From our standpoint, we spoke to a lot of our customers, we spoke to hundreds and thousands of SMEs, and we could categorize some of the challenges that they're facing into 4 key areas. Logistics, that's one standpoint of it. But yesterday we did a poll and we saw how many people said, hey, access to finance. It's not just something that's under the rug, right? It's clear. But it's other things as well. Skills or knowledge, right? We cannot underestimate the amount of skills and knowledge that is needed to really understand. Skills and knowledge about, yes, logistics, but also about being an knowledge about customer service and dealing with potential new customers, cold selling, warm selling, upselling, all these things. And then also areas in terms of ICT, whether it is setting up an e-commerce platform and so on. And so the first thing that I mentioned this earlier, this Go Trade initiative within DHL, is very much focused on supporting and helping SMEs that have products, get their products from their home country into either regional markets or into the global markets. First and foremost, this is free, there's no barrier to access for this. The only barrier is you should have a product, right? And then whether it's capacity building, training, access to the existing DHL networks, we collaborate with partners in areas of these challenges. Financial service providers like banks, like Absa, ICT firms, intergovernmental organizations like COMESA, like the UN, like the World Bank, like the ICT, sorry, I keep calling them ICT, ITC, International Trade Center, and so on, and provide SMEs access to this entire ecosystem of partners to support them thrive and get their products into the international markets. That's the one thing that we do there in capacity building. But the second thing also comes down to for SMEs that have a digital presence. And I just want to see by show of hands, how many SMEs here have websites up and running? All right. How many SMEs have like a e-commerce platform? Amazon, it could be on Jumia, it could be on WooCommerce. Okay, so a handful. Now, the thing being that when you have, it is one thing to have your products in a brick and mortar shop, but then you cannot underestimate the power, the extension, the capabilities that e-commerce presents. And for SMEs that already have their presence, their products on a digital marketplace, on this platform, what we do from our side at DHL, we also have, we are very happy to integrate or connect our systems to the SME's online marketplace, which gives their customers 3 key things. The customers can see once the customer goes to your website or goes to your marketplace online, they see your products they like. They click buy, it goes into their checkout basket. The customer then goes on to be able to pay, make a secure payment. Hopefully the payment is being completed through Absa. That's one part. But the customer then can also see, can the shipment be delivered to where they are in? Let's say your customer is in the US. Can it be delivered to the US, A? How long would it take for the shipment to arrive? If I'm the customer, I want to know how long it takes from the time I bought this beautiful bag from Zambia and I want to deliver it to my daughter in the US, how long will it take for her to receive it? But third thing as well, how much would it cost? And if I'm a customer and I can see all of this stuff in one single transaction, it's fantastic. The expectations is set, right? From our side, what we would usually do is that we would connect our systems to an SME systems, and you can see at the back in the corner over there, Mioba, the commercial team. We have the leadership from DHL Express in Zambia in the room now. You can speak to them and they'll want to understand what is your business, what is your product.
Thank you. It's good to know. Thank you. It's good to know that there's a bit of price sensitivity around women-led businesses. That's commendable on behalf of DHL. Moving along to you, Ambrose. How are you seeing women-led businesses participate in non-traditional exports like foods, textiles, or creative arts? Are these getting market access they need?
Through GEPA's training, a lot of these women are leveraging on the knowledge and the skills to produce a lot of agri-processing foods like cashew, mangoes, cassava, and then a lot of these women through GEPA are also into the fashion space and apparel space, and then producing a lot of fabrics, clothes, and all that. And then through the same GEPA, most of these women are getting increased access to business through the fairs that we organize or promote and send them on.
One of them is infrastructure. We have challenges with products reaching certain regions of the continent. And right now we have the Lobito corridor, which is connecting DRC, Zambia, and Angola, which is underway using the Benguela railway line, which is under rehabilitation. That is a way for us Zambians to access not only the Congo market, which we are ferocious in doing, but also the Angola market. Angola imports everything, from your dairy products to your meats to whatever it is, animal products, they do import, and that's an option that is there for us. Also, filling in the gap with digital trade. Max has already talked about understanding e-commerce. There's an importance that I need to place on understanding what digital platforms can do to your business. It is not always possible to be physically present, but what these digital platforms can do is help you reach masses that you would otherwise be unable to do. And just a show of hands, if anyone around in your circles, do you have more than one person that is doing business that you would like to have that knowledge with? Show of hands. Understanding what a business is, what you can do, financial literacy. If we look around the room, there's a few hands that have been raised. There's so much information that is sitting at your doorsteps. We've had many groups come to us, women and men and women, saying that we're coming through, we would like to have this knowledge, and ZDA comes through and we train you. Whether it is building an export plan, building a business plan, understanding costing and pricing, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, all these things are there to remedy being able to trade in Africa better. And you do not have to leave the country to access that, nor do you have to leave your home, because some of these issues are virtual. We have options of our expos that are taking place. Right now, there's the World Expo that is taking place in Osaka, Japan. That happens once every 5 years. It is absolutely massive. It takes place over a period of 6 months. And Zambia has been there. We have a country stand. We are there showing and exhibiting our products. But the issues that were coming through is that there's not enough people to show their products to the world. But these are platforms that are freely available to you. The agency pays for an exhibition space. So that's not a cost that you have to cover. But simply being able to go there and exhibit your products to the whole world on one platform, those are opportunities that are available. We are going to Algeria for the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. Again, that is a trade fair with the whole of Africa being there in one space. How are you taking advantage of this? And so there are many areas that we can trade, and even in the issues that we're having problems, where we're having problems, there are always solutions as long as you come to the fort and seek help where you need help, and we'll be there to provide it to you.
Thank you very much, Sonda, for that. I think very insightful. the information is readily available. I guess it's up to the entrepreneurs to be able to have the hunger that you referred to be able to access it. In the interest of time, I think we will move to the last question. We will go to Ambrose. Ambrose, any insights on how women can take better advantage of trade expos, fairs, or digital platforms to boost visibility and connect with international buyers? I think this is also closely related to what Musonda had highlighted.
Exactly. So most of these trade fairs bring buyers and other world-established people together. At times, it gives some of these exporters the chance to also have business interactions with the government. So we have the B2B or the B2G kind of interactions. And then it puts you in the space whereby you are easily accessible on the social media space. And then, let's say with this conference, if you registered to come here with the exhibition and all that, people come around, they will see you, you kind of get a lot of businesses going on. So these expos are an eye-opener. It promotes your business. It takes you far. All the business in Ghana, I think we attend about 40 to 50 expos in a year. So if you are registered with us, or we take you to all these expos, it helps you to build your brand and then take you far.
So to the audience, a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much for the insights, and we'll take some questions, I think, thereafter. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause, please. I did say that we'll be cruising through the program. So to help us set the tone for the next session, I'd like us to turn our attention to the screens, please.
At Absa, we believe that we can do good while doing good business. Being a force for good in our communities is central to who we are and how we realize our purpose of empowering Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time. We strive to live a corporate ethic that fosters financial inclusion, supports climate action and Africa's resilience to environmental vulnerabilities, and enables diversity and inclusion for both our colleagues and clients. Underpinning our sustainability ambitions are the guiding principles of making a substantive impact and leaving a positive legacy for all stakeholders, specifically our customers, colleagues, and the communities in which we operate. By engaging and enabling our customers in every stage of their financial stories, we hope to help them become sustainably minded and the authors of a prosperous African narrative. Central to our approach to sustainability is financial inclusion. We are on the front lines in 9 markets. By empowering individuals and communities through accessible financial services and opportunities, we help create intergenerational wealth. We understand that when more SMEs, women and youth are financially engaged, the more economies grow. We've helped these businesses and individuals across the continent become economic actors in the formal financial system by giving them transacting and savings products and services, providing access through financing, bringing banking closer, and by tailoring products and services to meet their unique needs. Our financial literacy efforts for individuals, SMEs, and business customers include important initiatives and partnerships created to make their stories ones of success. And through our ongoing efforts with our Ready to Work program, we have equipped young people with the skills they need to excel in the workplace. Our focus has not only been on our customers, but also on our planet. And caring about our planet is not just a corporate initiative, but something we should all act on for the sake of ourselves, families, and communities. Climate change has had a devastating impact on us as Africans, and And so climate remains a critical component of building a lasting legacy for Africa, which is why we continue addressing environmental challenges and promoting sustainable practices for a greener future. We have influenced the communities in which we operate and assisted our clients to transition to more climate-friendly alternatives, whilst always being mindful that sustainability initiatives should be viewed within the broader context of communities' developmental imperatives. We have helped protect and maintain African biodiversity, played a role in conserving energy, and even planted trees to restore much-needed green cover, cool urban areas, improve air quality, and preserve the habitats on which local communities depend. Our colleagues are on the front line of our climate efforts, and colleagues to build competencies that make them fit-for-purpose, marketable employees of the future. We have also been actively involved powering African women and girls, as well as being committed to our communities by showing up in ways that are meaningful and important to them. Overall, 2024 has seen us remain a positive force in helping Africans write their stories. 80% of our initiatives have been externally focused, maximizing our impact on the people and places in which we work. While we have
business. So allow me to introduce our next panelist for this session. We have the Absa Zambia Chief Risk Officer, Sarah Lloyd. Prior to this, she spent 3 years as CRO for Absa Seychelles and has worked at the Central Bank of Seychelles. A round of applause, please. And yes, she brings a wealth of experience in financial risk and resilience and is absolutely passionate about systems that support long-term sustainable enterprise. And next up, we also have someone from Absa. This is Absa Kenya, Head of Sustainability and Corporate Communication and Corporate Affairs. This is Charles. Please welcome Charles to the stage. He's passionate about helping people transform and making things better. What did I say? One conversation at a time. He has a strong track record in coaching, mentoring, stakeholder engagement, and brand integration. Next up, joining us virtually, I believe, we have Kobina, who is the World Bank Environmental and Social Risk Management and has led Absa Zambia's strategic sustainability agenda, representing the bank at global climate platforms such as COP28 and COP29. You're in good hands, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together.
Business imperative. I think the panel here will try and just demystify that for you, just in small practical terms. Sustainability is about us trying to keep our businesses afloat. It's us trying to navigate the supply chains. A lot has been spoken in the previous session about trade. Any disruption to the supply chains, our business will be affected in here. So as SMEs, how do we remain resilient? So that's what sustainability is all about. And for me, maybe just to set the ground running, I'll quote someone who says, we do not borrow. We do not inherit the land or the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. That's what sustainability is all about. We all have a responsibility to protect this which we have been given to you. And maybe further, I know a lot of insights, practical insights from yesterday have been shared. And today we heard about just what we can do from the Commercial Secretary General. Just sharing another one. Did you know? I know the Master of Ceremony is good with, did you know? I used to like opening bubble gums, paper bubble gums, and reading it, did you know? So did you know, according to a World Bank study of 2023, 60% of African SMEs say that climate change will affect or impact their operations. And yet, 20% have recorded profitability if they have adopted sustainable business practices over 5 years. What are we waiting for? So let's get deep into this, and with the able panel, I'll just straight go into the first questions just to warm up. it will go across. It's the same question. I want in a sentence, how do you, just in one sentence, tell the viewers, those who are watching us virtually in the room, anything you'd like to demystify or debunk about sustainability in the African context?
Thanks, Kapula. I think for me, you've actually touched on it a little bit in terms of it not being a buzzword, but I would say it never should have been. I would want for us to be able to realize that sustainability is not an addition to the way we run our businesses. Anybody who has set up a business...
My name is Charles. I come from Kenya. Can I answer your question in a short story? So I grew up on the slopes of Mount Kenya. For those who don't know, Mount Kenya is the second highest mountain in Africa after Kilimanjaro. So I was a village boy, and as I was walking to school every day, we would see the top of the mountain, right? And it was very clear. It was always white, covered in snow, right? So I tried to go back to the village quite often, so I was in the village maybe 2 months ago. And I did the walk again, yeah? And the truth is, when you look at the top of that mountain, it's just bare rocks, okay? That's one example. So let me ask you a question to answer my question. By show of hands here, who can give me a random guess of how many lions there are in the world today? Lions. 100,000, I hear. Any other one? Okay, so I'll give you the answer. So it's estimated there are about 35 to 39,000 lions in the world today. Do you know how many there were in 1980, which is about 40 years ago, which is what I've averaged our age in this room? There were 80,000, okay? So what has happened to the 40,000 lions? Lions surely don't eat themselves. They are carnivorous, but they don't. So, and it's the same case. So if you go to the rhino population, it's the same case. It's about 20,000 rhinos today. There were like 500,000 rhinos at the beginning of the 20th century. So what is happening to these populations of these animals? We are basically outcompeting them for space, for resources, for water. We are poaching them. And it goes back to what Sarah said. So sustainability is about asking ourselves this question. The world as we found it and the world as we live it, which one is better, right? And for those of us who are here with little children who run around and sing songs, you have to ask yourself, 40 years from now, if we've cut the population of lions by half in 40 years, 40 years from now, if we carry on at this pace, will there be lions? So do you think your children's children will ever see a lion? They possibly will never. Now, it's not about seeing lions. So if you know about tourism, they call the Big Five. So 2 of the Big Fives are at risk of extinction, okay? So I just said this thing to demonstrate that it's not a myth. It's not a story that's said by big corporates. It's something that you should care about and something that I should care about in your business, in our business. So that may give you a sense from an environmental perspective. I'll say the last thing and then hand over the microphone to you. So in my growing up again, I grew up in the farms. I don't know if it's the same here, but in Kenya, you've got very many women and children who work in the farms, right? You know, whether it's tea picking or coffee or whatever. They do the actual work. Now, my male counterparts here, I think we may be like 10, yeah? In the official records, the farms are registered to whom? To the men, right? So I would see my grandfather, you know, go perambulate in the capital city, do whatever. My grandmother and her children would work and work and work. And when the bonus is paid, Mzee shows up, yeah? So the man shows up, takes the check, goes back to the city. So these are social misnomers, right? Because who's the person who's put in the work? Who's the person who's put in the work? Who should get the better portion of this income? So, but our society has been wound up in with such social misforms that have caused us to lag behind from a development perspective. So if you think about it, when we talk about environmental, social, governance imperatives, these are the things we are talking about. They are not theoretical things. I just wanted to make it clear that it's real, tangible things that you and I interact with. Back to you.
Thank you very much. We've got Kobina virtually. Kobina, you could just respond to the question. What's the biggest, how do you demystify the biggest myth on sustainability?
I would say both panelists have already taken the wind out of my sail. I totally agree with them. I know these are introductory remarks, so I would also probably keep it crisp. But basically, just as Sarah said, this is not new. The concept has metamorphosed over the years. I mean, it evolved. I think that should be the right word. We have seen a period where there was some focus on HSC, and then it went to, even CSR at a point became part of the bigger picture. And then it's gone to a lot of things, ESG shares. So really, if I'm to talk to an SME person, and I know you have SME businesses in the room, if you're an SME business and you are interested in operational efficiency, you are already doing sustainability. If you're an SME business and you are interested in resource use efficiency, how much of your resources goes into your productive processes, and how much of this is going out as waste, you are already doing some bit of sustainability, even though I can assure you that you probably were looking at it from the finance angle. But to a very large extent, it has huge implications on the other components of sustainability. And I believe as we continue with these discussions, we'll be able to explain a little bit more on what this whole sustainability is about to our audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobina. You've heard it there. Sustainability is not just about reducing carbon footprints. Don't get it wrong. It started with carbon, and we need to reduce carbon. But this is about future-proofing our businesses as SMEs. It may sound doubting, but we've got experts here just to help us where to start from. So great, we'll just move to the second part, and I'll just ask Charles. I think he has started on this. Probably we'll let him just share some views on. A lot of people say sustainability is for the big corporates. So, but for SMEs, where is a good start?
Yeah,
Please just give concrete examples so that they follow along. And where is the good start for SMEs in here and those who are just viewing?
Yeah, so there's a gentleman who yesterday he has spoke about crawling, walking, and then running. Yeah, and it's true the way the agenda has been built. It's been built as a huge thing that only big corporates with their deep pockets would be able to do. But I think, as you said rightly, when you do this, when you begin to exercise sustainable business practices, it makes sense, and it should make sense for your business. So if it's not making sense for your business, then it's not sustainable, because the word sustainable is out of that word sustain. It should be holding on for a long time, right? And so from our experience working with the different enterprises in Kenya, there are a few things that we have seen. That cut both from an environment to a social perspective. And so I want to give you maybe just two quick examples. So I'm sure in your business today, you have waste, right? So pause for a moment and think about what you do with all the waste that comes from your operations, right? I've been to businesses where all your waste is put in trash bags and left at the gate for somebody to collect, and you have no idea whatever happens after that. Yeah, and that is a mix of plastics, a mix of papers. It's everything. Yeah. So there is a simple thing you can do today in your small operation. Begin to separate your waste. Right? What's biodegradable? What is not? Right? And there are enough institutions in this market, in Kenya, in Ghana, that would help you with what should follow after that separation of waste. So that's one example from an environmental perspective. Another one is if you run your premises. Yeah. So how do your premises run? Yeah. So what kind of lighting fixtures do you have? Do they stay on the whole night, day and night, in the room when people are there, when people are not there? Simple things. So I'll give you an example, although from an Absa perspective. We retrofitted all our lights across all our branches and head offices in Kenya to install motion sensing lights, and our bill reduced by 30%, okay? Simple action, 30%. It makes sense for your business because you're looking at cost. It's the same for water. If you've got these water taps that you open and then it runs, you wash your hands, you go get the towel, the tap is still running. It's a simple thing. You can just put different faucets that sense your hands, or you just press once and it reduces the amount of water that comes out. So these are practical things. From a social perspective, which is a more realistic thing, for Africa. Ask yourself the simple question that, do you treat your employees the right way? Are they remunerated commensurate to what they do for you? Because yes, you're running a business in Kenya, you cannot become our supplier today if we have not certified that you have a somewhat small understanding of what ESG is, because we need you to be doing things the right way for us to continue doing business together.
Thank you. So as you can see, we are moving on. The examples are practical. You can reduce your bill from 12,000 to 6 by just moving to solar. I'll go to Sarah. Sarah is very passionate about this. Yeah, maybe you can just pick up where it ended. But I want you to give an example of what it means for a manufacturer, an SME manufacturer in Zambia, or a tech startup in Kenya or Ghana.
Thanks, Kapila. And I do think Charles has really touched on it, and I love the examples you gave, though was thinking you stole the ones I would have gone with first. But it is precisely that. So let's say a manufacturer, and maybe, again, here I'll tell a story of a company that I was reading about recently, which really blew my mind. And I did speak about it in the masterclass we held recently. But there was it was a college student in the US who started making organic fertilizer from worm poop. There's I can't think of a more polite way to put it, but from worm poop. And he started making organic fertilizer in his garage, as all, American legends and corporate, that's how they all start, in a garage somewhere. But that's how he started off. And in order for him to figure out how to package this fertilizer, he just went around and collected glass bottles from trash outside, cleaned it, because obviously from a health and safety perspective, right, this is fertilizer, no one's drinking what's inside here, right? So he did that. His business then has grown substantially. He continues to use recycled glass bottles for his packaging. Obviously now, the way the business has grown, he could very easily be affording to have some fancy packaging, his own glass bottles, and just move away from that perspective. But he maintained that packaging. He now does, and I think Charles sort of touched upon it there, how do you then take it that step further, right? So he's still, from a cost perspective, this is genius, because he gets the glass bottles for free. His packaging, it's just a sticker that he pays for, right? The actual bottle is free. But then he's also built on it now by looking at how does he then build the knowledge for the next generation. So he does pay for a small portion of the glass bottles he uses, and that's only by paying schools who run recycling programs. He then pays them for the glass bottles that he collects from the schools. And I found this such an interesting example because one thing we often see is someone starts, and I think of my auntie and my grandmother who used to make jam in their kitchen, and they would use the old glass jars from the jam that we'd previously bought or the peanut butter, and I still do it, right? I make chili at home and I'm using the jar that's left over from whatever jam it was that I had. But if I suddenly scale my chili business, or my grandmother, they then shift to saying, no, I need this fancy packaging, this uniform packaging. But actually sticking to the model you had at the beginning not only gives that cost save, but also gives you a unique selling pitch as well, which makes you stand out from somebody else who's making worm poop fertilizer or jam or chili or whatever it may be. And the reason I share this story is to say to those manufacturing, you don't have to, as you grow, you don't have to move away from, I guess it's interesting, right? Because there are things we would have said were traditional, or as I said, things my grandmother or my aunt did back then, but we don't have to move away from those things. They actually make solid business sense for the two reasons. There's a cost save element, and there then is the sales pitch element, which we also know marketing is a big part of a successful business. I would say that's something that needs to be taken into account. And then, the tech startup example you're asking for, Kapula, is, that's a challenging one, right? And it's interesting in this environment, in this space. But again, youth, and how do we build more, as we become more digital, and it's something I know we've talked about before, you become more digitally enabled, you also move away from practices that often are unsustainable, right? The less we print means the less paper we use, which does have an environmental impact. But guess what? It also means I'm not paying for paper, and I don't have to pay for a printer, and I don't have to put ink in it. I also don't pay for the electricity that printer uses. So huge cost saves there. But for the tech startup, and I think even for manufacturing and almost any SME, one area I would urge that yes, there's that focus on cost save, but is on tracking it. So as Charles speaks about Absa Kenya, he's able to say, yes, we had a 30% reduction in cost because of this initiative. What I would urge when we're looking at SMEs, and there was a lady here saying, she's grown and now her business has 120 employees. What's critical and crucial there is not just the growth in 120, but looking at what is the demographic of that 120. How many women are you helping through employment? How many youth are now, obviously within legal limits of employment, but how many youth are now being helped? Because that's where then you're also able to clearly demonstrate the impact that you're having internally, and that's where I think a lot of the cost save comes in, but also the impact that you have externally through, yes, the women that you support by employing, or that you found a solution that is relatable and relevant. And that's another area that I think sometimes with sustainability gets a bit muddied, because we can think that these sustainability initiatives, either they're far too complicated, or we tackle them as if we're an NGO versus a business. It still has to make business sense, right? There still has to be a profit that's coming out of this. You have to look at it from that perspective, but solving for a problem that someone has does give you an opportunity to make it into a business, right? You can then earn a profit from it, you can generate income, but in doing so, it's imperative that you do it with that future forward-looking vision, as you said, even from your own business's perspective of, I'm not going to put in, and I'm sure many of the SMEs here, many of the business people here can say, you've got your own business, it's blood, sweat, and tears and late nights. You're not going to do that to say, I only want this to work for 2 years. You are putting in all of that effort because you want to leave this as a legacy. You want this to be your legacy for your children. For them to say, look, mom did this amazing thing, she had this business, or grandma had this amazing business, or my great-grandmother set this up and it is now still there. In order for it to last that long, you have to look at what's happening around. And I think definitely for the Zambian businesses in the room, the impact of climate change and the need to look at sustainable practices really came through and continues to come through with the power situation, right? That is a challenge that you've had to contend with and figure out, hopefully, sustainable ways. Because moving towards solar is, yes, there's a big cost initially, but your running costs are going to be far lower than diesel gensets for the, for however many years it would be, right? So taking that mindset and realizing that it's cost as well as external benefit, and then tracking it, just figuring out how you measure it so you can actually understand for yourself and communicate to others the impact of your actions.
Thank you, Sarah. Just to build and ride on those thoughts. So sustainability is about competitive advantage. And I now go to Kobina. I think there's one thing which is really a problem in sustainability. We call it the eternal dilemma. How do you do sustainability and make a profit? Kobina has been working with SMEs across Africa. So the question is, how can they balance sustainability with a real pressure of staying financially afloat?
I think that it's an interesting question. Probably an area that people have also created some bit of a myth around. Because just as Sarah said from her very first submissions, you would realize that if you are being sustainable in your operations, in your business, just as the word suggests, I think it would be a no-brainer for anybody to assume that if I am being sustainable, then I am indeed going to be profitable. So sustainability and profitability are not on the opposing sides at all. In fact, one is part of the many factors that wheels, that oils your wheel, so that you can be more profitable. So we have this general understanding that businesses, and I'm sure most businesses in the room can agree with this, that sometimes much of the wastages in our resource use or in our budget use has to do with keeping the operation principles into your business model, into your vision, into your values. You would then be more concerned, you'd be more careful about your choices. You'll be, in terms of sustainability, you'll be monitoring movement of trucks. You'll be monitoring, the extent to which a driver's training that you have spent money on is impacting on the work that they do. And then you would realize that sustainability in terms of in practice, being practicalized throughout such a haulage operation would ensure that you are making a lot more savings. It would ensure that you are adopting more sustainable driving practices. It would ensure that in subjecting your vehicles or your fleet of trucks to routine maintenance, you are rather going to be more efficient and be using less fuel. Because once you are not going by those operational, servicing regime and all of that, what would happen is that you might think that you're being smart, but you would end up having vehicles or a fleet of trucks that are inefficient, and they will need a lot more fuel, for combustion to be able to do the work that they are supposed to do. In the end, you will spend a lot more. In the end, most of these cars would break down, and you would have to replace parts that are probably not due for replacement. So this is just even one aspect of the sustainability that a business might be, integrating into its track, operations. And there's, as I said, the two are not mutually exclusive. One actually enables the business to be more profitable. So yes, you do not have to do anything out of the ordinary to be profitable when once you are integrating sustainability principles into your business. Same with a beverages industry, where you spend a lot of money on your water consumption. So what is sustainability going to do for you in such a business? Sustainability is going to be talking to you about resource use efficiency. It's going to be talking to you about metering aspects of your processes that are probably water intensive. And beyond metering, it is giving you a process or a procedure that enables you to review on on a constant basis to understand what the trends are. And you know, these are things that I keep telling my SMEs that you may be doing this already, but with a different motivation. You may have been doing this because, well, you have money. The money is what is of concern to you. But that same process, without you having to do anything extra, is actually a sustainability principle that helps you to, that actually gives you some, sustainability credential as far as your water consumption or your water use efficiency is concerned. So it's easier when we look at them in terms of the aspect of the business operations that an individual runs. When we do that and we look at what sustainability could do for each of them, then you will realize that most of the things that we are talking about are things you're probably doing already, except that we now need to help you organize them in such a way that you are now a bit more purposive in what you are doing, and now you are able to even link your operational activities to elements of environmental management, social risk management, and the governance aspect. So for me, there is no way anybody should ever think that investing in sustainability would affect your profitability. It doesn't make sense at all. What does make sense is that sustainability helps you to be more efficient, and once you agree that efficiency helps you to be profitable, sustainability and profitability are in the same set. So that's what I would say, knowing that I've taken too much of your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobina. You had to hit the nail on the head. And finally, I just want a sentence or so, just the final remarks. I think the question is, why should SMEs care about governance? Why should SMEs care about governance? I know you know the twin brother or the adopted son of sustainability is ESG, and the G is governance. So we have talked about money. Now we are also looking at governance. But in the interest of time, panelists, just in a sentence, why should the SMEs care about governance? Sarah, you can start.
I think it's almost unfair. This is my entire job and you tell me one sentence. So I think ultimately it comes down to governance are the rules by which we're meant to operate. Be they laws, be it regular meant to operate, and it's about us then behaving ethically and legally. So that's why we should care. Really, they're the rules. Let's not break those rules that will prohibit us from operating.
Thank you. Charles?
Yeah, I know SMEs are this is the sector where a father employs the son and the wife and the cousins, and many times this is, the sector where we operate with with general guidelines, yeah? I think governance is the answer to this question, yeah? So think about your business as a business. Think about what an investor who you're asking to invest $1 million in your business, think about what they would be asking you for. Think about what a bank like Absa will ask you for, when you're either seeking a facility or engaging with them. And think about what the government, thinks about your business. So if you can answer yourself satisfactorily in these questions, that I have established a rhythm, that is not dependent on which side of the bed you woke up, on, then you're building governance. And governance is possibly the most important tool for your business to succeed and live beyond you.
Thank you, Charles. And finally, Kobina. In a sentence, please, Kobina.
Interesting. So, yes, so a few questions to the business owners. Is it important that you have clear rules and responsibilities, despite the fact that, just as Charles has said, most of us run businesses where we have employed family members, where we have, husbands and wives, where we have nieces, but then beyond all of that, it's important for you as a business owner to have clear roles and responsibilities, if it is that is an important governance issue, is it important that we consistently evaluate, and monitor and identify areas for improvement? Is it something that we are interested in, that as a business owner, we want to be able to know where there are areas for improvement? If that is of interest to you, that's an important governance issue. Sarah already spoke to the compliance issue, but basically, I think that if we can have clear roles and responsibilities, and we can be transparent in our dealings with our workers and with our staff and all of that, I think we will do quite well or score some bit of high marks when it comes to governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists. A good example I came across just yesterday. Governance is actually something which can help you open markets. In Ghana, I've heard that a share cocoa butter manufacturers are able to sell their products to Europe because of governance. Where you plant, agribusiness contributes about 60% of the businesses for SMEs. Where you plant, make sure deforestation is not an issue. Because if you have deforestation issues, you won't be able to sell in the EU. We've heard about what Donald Trump has done in the world. The world has not stopped. It's still moving. Europe, it has delayed, maybe softened some things, but Europe has moved on. There's regulation. So if we have to open to markets, access to markets, we need to have governance. You can start with one small SDG, maybe, I think it has been mentioned. You can look at waste, SDG 12. You can look at employability, employ females. That's why this is your conference. Females should be in management and on boards. Those are simple things we can do. So thank you, panelists, for this wonderful session. And key takeaways I think I would just like to share. Today we have seen that sustainability is both a shield against risks and a spear for growth. As we wrap up, I'll challenge each of you to take up this challenge. Sustainability isn't just about the environment. It's about survival, relevance, and long-term profit. SMEs can and should start small with practical actions, but stay aligned with broader frameworks. Audit one area of waste energy, and then move on. Electricity, change your lighting. Paint your houses white, not black. Those are simple actions you can take. Finance and governance are not barriers. They're enablers. So as we move forward, let's shift the sustainability conversation from obligations to opportunity. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for our panel. And I'm sure you've learned a lot. Yes, it's information overload, but we're here to learn. That was a common theme that we spoke about yesterday. And after we learn, we need to act. So action is, right now we'll quickly jump and watch a video just to inspire us for a good 60 seconds. But because of time, I'll also ask that it will be played back to back with another video that will help us set the tone for the next conversation.
Through her accessible books, public advocacy, and her practice, she is bringing mental wellness out of the shadows. Dr. Akani is not just treating patients, she is leading a renaissance of the mind. At Absa, we're inspired by these stories, and that's why we say your story matters.
My name is Linda Ampa. I'm a garment manufacturing company owner and I also manage it. I also do other things that bring me a lot of joy, and that is mentoring. So I judge on a show called Ghana's Most Beautiful. It's a beauty pageant where we mentor these young women, we groom them into beautiful women. One of the hats I wear is also an author. I authored a book. Now when I turned 50, because of the show I do on TV, people see a polished, well-groomed lady sitting on television and judging. But I wanted to share a story of where I had come from. I come from a background where we had a lot of family members living with us. Unfortunately, I was molested as a child, got pregnant, it had to be aborted. My mother also passed when I was 15 years old. So that was the inspiration. And of course, at that time, the Me Too movement had also gone. I wanted to share my sexual abuse story and to encourage other women who have been through such traumatic situations in their lives. Started business quite early because I always knew what I wanted to do. I first started with a shop that was dealing with lingerie. That didn't go so well. There was a big flood at that time and I lost everything. No insurance, nothing. I started garment manufacturing 30 years back, started bespoke, and then eventually got into mass production. Because of the kind of background that I had, I lost a lot of good people along the way because I didn't trust. And then again, as I started my business and started mass production, we had major headache of meeting quality issues, export orders that failed, and we lost so much money. We had to start from scratch. And then we are here today. We're employing about 400 and more people. And so it hasn't been an easy road. I encourage you, take a pen and a paper and write your plan. Plan your plan. Plan. How are you going to be able to do what you say you are going to do? Who is your market? How are you going to reach that market? Who are your competitors? You have to look at all of that. You are going to be working in a country. What are the policies that regulate what you are going to do? It is very important to be able to succeed in business, that you understand the terrain within which you are working. In our part of the world, you're encouraged to start your business on your own, by yourself. From where I sit now, after over 30 years of doing business, it's important to have partners. You go to school, you have friends, you know friends who are strong in certain areas. Finance, somebody is good in finance, somebody is good in marketing. Partner them. Together, you can reach far, rather than just going solo. Finance is critical, but I say that having the right human resource is even more critical. Because if you don't have the right human resource, you can have all the money and you lose everything. The kind of work we do is stressful, it's draining, it's tiring, it can be frustrating. Sometimes you get home angry. So it's important that we take time to de-stress, to take care of ourselves. Massages,
but so is burnout. And what we need to now discuss in this last panel is how to protect your greatest asset, which is yourself, which is your body. It's actually body, mind, and spirit. What anchors you? And not really to preempt this conversation, but I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the gas mask theory. These are theories I talk about all the time. So gas mask theory, a lot of you flew over here. And so to help us in this conversation, we have a good number of panelists. And the first one is Dr. Siatwambo, who is the CEO of Great North Academy. He is a celebrated educationist and founder of the Great North Academy. Dr. Siatwambo brings a rich understanding of leadership, mental wellness, and balance, particularly with high-pressure environments. A round of applause, please. Joining us virtually, we have Olivia from Ariel's Haven, Ghana. She is the CEO. She's a dynamic force in the wellness and lifestyle industry with US certification and a career that had begun in the travel industry. She transitioned into wellness entrepreneurship Through her brand, Ariel's Haven, she has transformed the lives of many people through personalized coaching and wellness education. Please put your hands together for Olivia. From Kenya, we have Purity Kimoto, who is the CEO of her, Urban Drive Autos Limited. She's a passionate advocate for financial wellness with over 20 decades of experience in corporate and entrepreneurship. She empowers youth, women, and SMEs with practical tools in financial management, investment, and entrepreneurship. Please put your hands together for her as well. And moderating this panel, we have Mercy, who is the CEO of Value Connect in Kenya. She has over 20 years of experience in cross-agricultural leadership experience, spanning three different continents. Mercy is a globally recognized consultant, passionate about unlocking team potential. A certified behavioral consultant, she equips leaders with communication tools that reduce conflict and drive performance. Please put your hands together as she anchors this conversation. As you can see from the panelists as well as the anchor, we've got a wide range of expertise, both body, mind, pocket, and soul. So let's get into this conversation, and please let's just lean in as this is our very last panel discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good to be here, and I want you to follow me in what I'm going to do. When I say stand up, you're going to stand up, and you're going to do what I'm going to do. Are you ready? Ask your neighbor, are you ready? Okay. On a count of 1, 2, 3, let's stand up. Can you reach up with both your hands? Raise your feet. I want you reaching out. Yeah? Then I want you to shake your left leg like this. Let's see your balance. Let's do the right leg and your hand like this. Yeah, we're testing your balance. That's part of wellness. I'm watching you. Okay, let's reach our toes. How many of you, I'm looking, how many of you can reach your toes? Some of you are not doing it. Come on, you're supposed to be doing it together. Let's do it. Okay, let's reach to the right, left, like this. Yeah. And let's turn around. All right. Can you clap once for yourselves? Well done, and have your seats. So right there, we have started you off with wellness. Thank you very much, Absa Bank Zambia and Absa Bank Kenya and Ghana for bringing us here today. And it's truly an honor to be here. As you've heard, my name is Mercy. I'll be moderating this session. But allow me to share a little bit. Some of you may have met me already. I will tell you that I manufacture leaders. And no, I don't have a processing line for leaders. Someone came and asked me whether I manufacture them physically. No. Not before. Yeah. Yeah, our clock starts now. We did an exercise, right? So what I was saying is that I want to give you some statistics. We're coming at the end, but as you heard from our MC, this is all about you. And by a show of hands, how many of you are entrepreneurs? Just raise your hands. Okay. How many of you are employed? Again, you can raise your hands. Good. So this is one conversation that I think is cross-cutting. Whether you're employed, whether you run a business, whether you're in between wanting to transition and you're wondering what is happening or what do you want to do. This is for you. It's for all of us.